This is your host, Jason Snellgrove, and I will be your guide as we journey down the road to pleasure hunt or hitting the long trail to those great comp hunts. This is the Coonhound Collective podcast. All right, welcome to the Coonhound Collective podcast again this week. This week I got a return guest. I've never shook the guy's hand, but I feel like we were really good friends. Always a good guy, always good to talk to. I got Mr. Jason King with me. How's it going, Jason?
Oh, I'm doing great, Jason.
Well, I was glad we was able to get hooked up and, maybe talk some dogs and some hunting and share some other things and kind of just get caught up. You know, last time we talked, you had a walker dog, you had Moose, you had Jewel. I think you and Steve had Jewel together or something. Maybe she was in Iowa or something. I don't remember now exactly, but I see you got a new little project going, and I just figured, hey, let's catch up. There's a lot of listeners that enjoyed your podcast, and we get to talk about a dog I don't get to talk about a whole lot on here. That's the Leopard Hounds.
Yes, sir. Well, I sold the walker dog last year. And during that process, I got him trained up, from a pup. He was like 5 months old when I got him from JR, and put the time into him, hunted him solo, and made a night champion out of him. And after I got that done, I was like, well, I really ain't accomplished too much, I had the same thing everybody else had.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking, and I said, I'm just going to get back into leopards. And I've been talking to Steve, and we had a litter of pups. We raised the litter out of Jewel, and which that's our grand night female, and it was 4 of them. So I ended up getting one of them, and I got her home, and I think she was about 6 months old when I started hunting her, and she started treeing as soon as I started fooling with her. So after she started treeing, so that's when I decided to just go ahead and sell the walker dog, and I just went straight leopards. And I've got her now. She's going on 2. She'll be 2 the end of this month, and she's made a real nice little dog.
So do you still got the old man around the house there somewhere?
Yes, sir. I still got him. He just turned 10 January the 21st.
Okay. You been breeding him any, or?
Nope, I haven't made a cross on him in about 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, I seen this little colored up dog and pretty good mouth on it, and I just assumed just by what I seen on Facebook that she was probably out of Jewel, or he was out of Jewel, and I just thought, well, I need to get Jason back on here and let's talk about some leopard dogs. And have you seen any progression in the breed since the last time we talked? And, you think you're going in the right direction with this and stuff like that?
Well, the new dog that I have, I got a phone call from Mike Lensing's, and his name is Halo. And I got a phone call on October the 14th. And he said, Jason, he said, I found a young dog that you need to get. He said, I bought 2 of them. And he said, I know there was 5 of them in that litter. And he said, you need to buy this dog. I said, Mike, man, I've got other projects going on. And I said, I really don't need another young dog right now, because I planned on pushing Jewel into hunts this coming year. And he said, I'm telling you, you need to purchase this dog. He said, before somebody gets him, he said, you really need this dog. And I said, well, give me the man's number and I'll call him. So I called Mr. Steve Olson out in Wisconsin, and I called and talked to him. And so we made a deal on the dog, and I purchased the dog on the 14th. And it took me till November the 6th to get here to Virginia. And during that time, our coons was everywhere. So, I mean, we had on my farms where I hunt at, they was coons everywhere. And I really needed a younger dog, that I could work with. And, well, he finally got here, like I said, on November the 6th. And I had actually had a caged coon. I was waiting to turn that thing loose for this young dog when he got home because he had never been coon hunted. He was 14 months old, and all he'd ever been worked with was just they'd showed him a coon or two in a cage. That's what I seen out of him when they sent me the videos. Just let me see him that he would bark at a coon. And so I got him home, and we sat on the tailgate for about 10-15 minutes and just bonded. Just talked to him, and there was a leaf fell out of the air. The leaves was falling, and man, that dog's head, he just went up in the air, and when he did, he threw his nose up in there, and he winded that coon. It was like 150 yards away in a barn, and he smelt that coon as soon as he threw his head in the air, and I said, uh-oh. So I put him in the truck, went and turned that coon loose, and I cut him loose not long after I turned that coon loose. I didn't want it real hard for him. I wanted it pretty easy because he's just a pup. And he run that coon in there and treated it. Done an outstanding job. I was just, it just blew my mind how natural he was. So I hunted him for, a few nights that week. Didn't do too much with him. We were just trying to get used to each other. And I hunted him with moose, and he was striking coons in front of him as soon as I took him hunting. It just blew my mind how natural he was. And I called Mike and I said, I want to thank you for contacting me because anybody could have got this dog. I'm just thankful he's here in Virginia. You know what I mean? He's just 100% natural. And so deer season come along, and so we had to be laid up for a little while. Didn't get to hunt much. I went out to Illinois and hunted 3 nights. I believe he treated 7 coons while I was out there in Illinois. Then when we've come back home, I think he's treated like 14 coons, and I've had him in the woods 22 nights is all he's been in the woods.
Yeah, you can't beat those statistics for sure. That's really good.
Yes, and like I said in our previous podcast, the coons are, they're thin here. You got a dog's got to hunt. So we've been. The last night I went, it was last week before this big rainstorm we had come through here, and I made 3 drops with him. And the first drop, he went like this was not no straight line. Little difference between him, which I'm sure it'll change because they sort of have to hunt more in a straighter line here instead of hunting in circles. But he went out and hunted the first drop. He covered like 1.6, and then the second drop, 2.3, and then the third drop he went 3 miles. And he covered some ground. He's got the ability. I've never had a dog that could rig coons inside a dog box before. This dog is like got a powerful nose. You can be going 60 miles an hour down the road, and he can rig them right inside that dog box. And I let him rig 10 one night before I even turned him loose. And I said, shoot, I'm going to see what he's going to do.
Wow.
He's blowing this dog box up, and I'm sitting up here chomping at the bits. I'm like, man, we got to see what this dog can do. So I just didn't free cast him. I put the collar on him and led him down the road. When he started pulling, like it was up a hill. So I just cut him loose. He went out like 250 yards, and he located in a tree, went up there. That coon was asleep in the first fork in that tree. It was just, it blew my mind. Have you ever had a dog that would do that?
Well, yes and no. Kinda. Brett Stevens, that English dog he's got, the lone survivor dog, the one he calls Loner. He's told me stories of him going down the road and going into a place and cutting him loose, and that dog go right back out the way they come in with the pickup truck and go right down the side of the road and tree a coon that he winded coming in there. And
right.
I bought this little English female that Brett took to the Winter Classic for me here. I guess it's been a couple weeks ago now anyway. And I've had some dogs that could lay some coons up and kind of win some coons, and she done something similar to that with me one night. I cut her loose, and she just, as soon as I cut her out of the dog box, she just kind of turned and didn't get in the road, but kind of went, down the wood line right next to the road and fell treed and had a coon. And um, I really never had too many dogs that could lay coons up like her, but I think the first 8 or 9 coons she treed for me whenever I first got her, of course, it was like it is now. It's bad cold and weather wasn't real good. I think every one of them was asleep in the fork of a tree.
Right. Well, I've talked to several people, and this is something, I want to competition hunt this dog, and which I think he's naturally independent too. So, but the thing about it is, where our coon are thin, you can drive these mountain roads and stuff, and a dog like that, I mean, just imagine how many coon a dog you could get on in a night, But I'm
Oh, yeah.
afraid. But the thing that I'm cautious about, I've only done it one time, and he's rigged, I would say 30 or 40 coon, in the dog box. But the only thing that I'm cautious on is making him lazy. I believe you could do it too much, and you could create all kinds of problems.
Well, I wish Brett was able to be on here with us, because I think he said he think Loner got to kind of running roads on him a little bit because of that, and he literally had to just make him not go back, whenever they'd come by a spot. And he said that he done it to him 2 or 3 times, and he went through this stage of trying to run roads on him, and he was scared he's going to get him run over.
Right. Yeah, I've thought the same thing, and then plus up here, see, like our land is real mountainous. It's but you can't hunt nowheres in these mountains without there being a gravel road, which there's no traffic. You know what I mean? But there's gas wells everywhere, and there's logging roads. All of our country's been logged. So really and truthfully, like here, when you're hunting a dog, when you cut a dog, there's going to be a road within 100 yards. If you turn it in a patch of woods, there's some kind of logging trail, four-wheeler trail, or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so basically what we do is, like, say, if you got field edges, you know how you can cut dogs around field edges, and they learn to edge everything. So that's what I do to train my dogs to hunt field edges. If I'm hunting in the mountains. So if we're turning them down a ridge, they might be a road that goes straight through that ridge all the way to the end of it. And sometimes, and a dog will hunt harder. They'll learn to go faster and go farther if you do cut them on a path of least resistance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's something that I've done, but I've never had no trouble of a dog actually getting on a road. But I was thinking, maybe if he did strike some of them coons, drive down the road 200 or 300 yards, then send him back the opposite direction and trying that, which,
yeah. Well, I think Brett told a story when I interviewed him on the very first podcast where he done something like that with Loner. He he turned him loose. He wheeled around, went right back through, I don't know, a couple gates, out on a hard road, went down a driveway and treated a coon right next to the driveway. He went and got him, brought him back down there, and tried to cut him in there. And I think they went through this like 3 or 4 times. I think he was pretty wore out by the time he finally just give up on it. But he eventually got him stopped from doing that. But it sounds like, especially, we're not quite as mountainous as what you are, for sure. Our coon population is not that great, and we've got some, national forest and stuff like that. Some of the roads are pretty rough to get around in, but really, of course, competition hunting, that makes it tough when one wants to rig out of the box like that. But whenever you just pleasure hunt, you want to go tree some coons, it makes it pretty nice when your coon population's pretty thin.
Yeah, I know it. That was the other thing I was thinking about. I said, well, there's a lot there. You can do the wrong things right now where this dog's so young and he's got very little hunting experience. I mean, you can do some wrong things and then you're stuck with him for life, And but like me, like in these mountains, you have to put out something to keep coons. I mean, there's nothing for them to eat. They come to towns and different things. So, and I don't like feeder bucket dogs. I can't stand one go down there 50 yards and then turn around, come back and look at you. I can't stand that. That drives me insane. But you got to hunt where there are coons. If you're not hunting where there's coons, then you're just wasting time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're going to get. I mean, you're going to be running like we're like I said, we're populated. We got plenty of bear. And I mean, you'll be running anything, and you create all kinds of bad habits. And but it's just a man's got to make the right decisions. And this day and time, the way we train our dogs, it's different than what it was when I started out. When I started out with moose, we just went hunting, 3 or 4 of us, and just cut these dogs loose, go in there and tree coons. We just pet them up. If they split treat, it was a great thing, but we was never worried about that dog being off by itself, continuously.
Yeah.
And but I think it's well, we have at our local club, we've lost our places that we got our cast on, and it's getting tougher and tougher. Every club I go to, everybody's losing ground, and I think the hard going dog is it's going to be the fall to our coon hunt. I mean, getting on other people's property.
I've slowly, I believe I've slowly started to see a little bit of a change in that. Not that they're packing up, just a dog that that don't just blow the country. I mean, you still got. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of them that blow the country, but I've noticed there's some guys hunting some dogs that will, tree with another dog out of the truck, or if they strike a coon together, they'll tree that. They just don't, get off by themselves, or cause a dog opens, just blow through the country. I've noticed a little bit of change in that. I don't know if that's, people training that in them because of, the property issue that, I mean, we all face. Obviously, we're coon hunting, so I don't think any of us, very few of us, if any, has enough land that you could just coon hunt on, and so we depend on permission from other people. And I think getting off here and getting off there is probably, I believe, maybe trying to make a little bit of a change of that, because I've noticed some other guys, start talking that I know before were saying, yeah, when I cut them loose, I just want them to be, get over there by themselves. I want them to stay by themselves. Don't be with no other dog. And now I hear them talking, well, I don't care if they tree with one right out of the truck, but then after that, I like for them to be by themselves.
Right. And see, we listen to this as dog men, and we think that we got to, we got to do everything everybody else is doing, and then we're tweaking and tweaking. And I personally believe the way I'm going to look at this now from here on out, I'm going to let a dog be 100% natural. If it's going to be independent, it's going to be independent. I mean, I want my dog, if it strikes a track, I want it to finish it regardless. I don't want it leaving a track. And I think we can work on them too much that we're taking their natural ability away from them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that for sure. I mean, I think we've got involved, and I mean, because dogs are natural pack animals. We all know that. And like my buddy Aaron Gamble talks about, he's from right here in Hurley, Missouri, and there used to be a tire shop there. Hurley ain't much of a town now, but there used to be a tire shop down there, and he said all those guys would gather around, and he said if somebody's dog back in the day split treed and had a coon right by itself, it was like something unheard of, because they hunted them together so much. Now, if the dogs was to tree on a tree together, it's almost unheard of. So we've completely flip-flopped from where we were, and I think there's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Yes. There's an old, and it seems there's no guy that don't live too far from me, and he hunts by himself quite a bit. I mean, he's about, I'd say he's 72 now, and his dogs is always, if you went hunting with him, they would never honor another dog. It's just because they was hunted by themselves, and he never done nothing to them to make them independent. It was just more or less, I personally believe they was just jealous because somebody else's dogs was with on that party, you know what I mean, on that cast. So I believe it's just do it, naturally. And I think you'll be better off just just hunt them by themselves. But I think you can hunt them by themselves too much. I try to hunt, like I said, what little hunting I've got to do with this dog of mine. I'm going to hunt him 3 or 4 nights by himself, and then call a friend up and go hunt a couple nights, out of the week, and just not just us be completely solo, so I can work on other situations that arise. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, them dogs that are hunted by themselves a bunch, and you just take them to a hunt and put them in a cast somewhere. Some of them do fine, but there's a lot of them. It just kind of weirds them out, and they don't really know what to think, especially if you've just been training from a pup and they've never been around another dog. I would recommend to anybody try to get some buddies, or I mean, we got Facebook. Reach out to somebody, try to find somebody that you could hunt with, and take that dog and hunt them with before you put them in a cast for sure. Just to kind of give them something different, like you said. There's some other things you could work on. Whenever you're hunting with somebody else.
That's correct. And if you ain't got no one to hunt with, there's somewhere within an hour, should be from anybody. If it's 2 hours, there's either a PKC hunt or a UKC hunt. It might be $25 or $30 or whatever, but it gives you an opportunity to just take your dog and hunt it with someone, and hunt at a place that's different. Don't do the same thing over and over and over. And you say, well, my dog's not ready for a hunt. Well, it ain't the point, win or lose or draw or whatever. You need to expose that dog to other people. Get in a truck, like I said, drive down the road an hour or two. I've never, I'm going to be honest with you, I've never had a trouble with a dog that I've heard people on the podcast and stuff say, my dog wouldn't eat, my dog wouldn't act right. I've never had that problem. I feed mine right on the tailgate or inside the dog box when I haul them. I feed exactly the same way I would at the house. I wait till I get done hunting. I feed every night. I don't feed mine other mornings, so I feed everything in the evenings. And just keep the same routine over and over and over. And all of my dogs, when I get back from hunting, I'll park 35, 40 yards from my kennel, and I just let them go. They just go get in the kennel themselves. I never have to put a hand on them. It's just repetition. And if you hunt one, they're going to know how to operate. Now, some people don't want to turn theirs loose like that, but that's something I've took pride in.
Oh yeah, well, my male dog I got, Creeper. He's wound 440, and I sold him last year to a gentleman over in North Carolina, and got the opportunity to buy him back and bought him back. But one of the things that guy told me, he said, I ain't never had a dog with a handle like this. As wild and crazy as he is, up and down these hills, I ain't fixing to lead a dog up and down these hills, because they snatch you wrong. You step on a piece of that loose slate, and down the side of the mountain you go with the dog. And there ain't no point in it. These dogs are smart enough that you should be able to train them to walk without a lead. And just like you said, when I get home, I just drop the tailgate and just tell him, say, hey, let's go. And we just go right in the kennel house, and he goes right to his kennel door and stands and wait, and I open the door and he goes right in. I'm tell you what, a good handle on a dog is worth a gold mine when you're in a bind, or you need to go to work the next morning and you need to get that dog out of them woods. It's well worth its weight in gold.
Amen. Amen. That's like up here. There's some of these hollers, they don't even have a road in them. And it might take you a mile to get to them. and laurel, do y'all have laurel out there, mountain laurel?
No, we don't.
Oh my goodness. It is crazy. You'll have to just lay down and belly crawl under it. It's sort of like some of that ivy and stuff that's in Indiana. It's about as bad, but it don't have the briars on it, but it's just thick. You can't get through it. I pack when I'm harvesting coons, I pack a little chipmunk 22 rifle, just so that you can get through the wheat, through the laurel bushes and stuff. But you know, the handle is so important. Now, I have not put no tone handle on this new dog, but I will say this: when I went hunting with my friend a couple weeks ago, we was about a mile and a half from the truck, and I had not worked on pulling, like pulling on the dog lead or none of that stuff. So I just got me one of them little twigs, and when he was walking beside of me, and I just tapped him on the nose about 3 times and said back. And anytime he would go to pull me, this is how smart he is. I just laid it on the ground. I'd say back, and he would walk right beside me all the way to the truck. And like I said, it's been a few weeks ago. If I get him out of the kennel or anything, and he'll walk right beside of me. If he started to pull, I can say that. I mean, it's just, you got to have something that's got something between the ears too, to work with.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. That's 100%.
oh yeah, and like Big Jewel out there in Iowa, when Steve, when me and him partnered on her, I said, now Steve, if she gets in there deep, I said, don't drive and look for her. I said, just tone her. And I said, when you tone that female, I said, she'll come exactly where you let her out. He said, really? I said, yes. I said, you do not have to chase her down. And because here in these mountains, she could be in there a mile or two, and you could just tone her, and she would come exactly where you let her out. And he done that one night, and he said, I would have never believed that. And but it's the time that you put in one to make a nice hound.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even understand, especially if I mean, maybe not an old dog, but when you have that young dog, all all that can be done in the yard. You can do all that
Yeah,
in the yard. You ain't got to take that thing to the woods. Weather's bad like it is now, or you can't hunt. You can spend 10 or 15 minutes in the afternoons or in the mornings or whenever you got time, middle of the day, whatever it is. A lot of that handle stuff can be done right here in the yard.
right. Yes, sir. The only thing that I've done different on that part there is I waited till they start running and treeing. Uh, I set back. Well, I messed up 3 or 4 by doing that too early before I actually got them going hunting and running and treeing. I put a handle on them, and then after I got the handle on them, that's all I had. I had a dog that had a handle on it. It didn't want to leave my feet after I got done, and I probably went about it the wrong way in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And we make mistakes. None of us is perfect.
Yeah.
But we live and learn, don't we?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. So the female that you got, is she named Jewel as well?
Yeah, she's Jewel too.
Jewel too.
Uh,
Okay, and is that the dog that you plan to try to push in some comp hunts?
I will be sending her to Iowa this year. Well, she's going to be going to Illinois. Sorry, to my good friend Andrew Bray. He's going to be hunting her, and I'm going to be pushing Halo here in Virginia. So I've got a good team of guys, that's started, helping every one of us out, because hunters is what we're lacking in this breed, and the past 2 months, I have got probably 30 to 40 people that has contacted me that's wanting pups, and we just don't breed uh, dogs to dogs. We breed dogs with ability, because our breed is so small, and you got to have good quality. It takes good quality dogs. It's my opinion on breeding, and not only that, it takes people that's willing to hunt that dog to make sure it's got ability. And if it don't have ability, it ain't good for the breed. And some people just think because of that Merle color, they're beautiful, and they just want to raise puppies. So what happens when you just raise puppies? You're just watering the gene pool down, dogs without the ability. And, this year makes 10 years that I've been in the breed. And I've had some nice dogs, and I've had young dogs out of moose that's made top tier dogs, and a lot of nice females. I'm a hoping that I can intertwine some of them females back in this bloodline with Halo. Halo was bred. He's a heavy line bred jug dog on top, and he's a Midwestern blood on the bottom side, which goes back to Mike Lensing's bloodline. And he's had his pedigree for several years, and every dog on the papers was tree dogs. I mean, they were tree dogs, and I've had the pleasure of hunting with several of them out of it, and I mean they are coon dogs. They will fill a tailgate full in a night. I mean, he told me one night he harvested 56 coons in one night, and that was a lot of coon.
Yeah, that's a heat.
But that's when the hides was going, going for good money, and plus he was in a place where he could do that, and I'm lucky to see 30 in a season here in Virginia. It's tough, but it takes a group of men that's got the same goal. You got to want better dogs, and you got to want the better breed. And I have only raised here at the house, I've only raised one litter of pups, and that was the litter of pups that the Big Jewel female, I've raised that one litter. That's the only one I've raised here, and they was outstanding. That was out of 10 pups, I think 6 of them made dogs out of 10. Halo, he came from a litter, like I said, in Wisconsin, and there were 5 of them, and all 5 of them running and treeing. And I have never seen a litter of pups, especially in leopards, every one of them doing something. That's impressive to me with the bloodline. And the mother to these pups is from Mike's dogs, and she was bred once before, and the litter previous to that, I think it was 10 of them, and every one of them has made outstanding dogs. So I think that female has got a powerful reproducing gene, and I'm hoping that that these dogs here are great reproducers.
Well, it sounds like you getting your hands on the right kind and the right ones for sure. And you talked about having a group of guys, and just like with this female, I've got here at the house. She's out of loner, and she's out of a buddy of ours, female. He don't have anymore, but she's out of vapor. And Brett was able to take that female because I couldn't go. I was coaching high school girls basketball, and we had practice, and then this past week we had our state tournament, and so I wasn't able to go to the Winter Classic. And so Brett said, "Hey, I really think that dog can do something. Would you care if I took her?" And no, I mean, yeah, take her. She needs to be put in those situations and change hands and just put in different scenarios. And it takes a group of guys that, like you said, have the same goals that you got to accomplish that. To come out the other end and do something good with those dogs.
Right. And if you got them kind of guys, I mean, it makes it so much better, because at the end of the day, it should be each one of y'all's main goal is to have better hounds. And it ain't about being jealous. I mean, jealousy it's a terrible thing. And it's in every breed. It's sad, but it's true. I was there once before. When I was breeding moose and pushing moose, I know what it feels to feel that way, and thank God he took that away from me. But like I said, I've got I think Moose has got 130 or 140 some pups on the ground, and a lot of dogs. Here I had a stud dog. It's hard to turn away people to breed, but the thing about it is, I wish that I would have been more selective on breeding on him. Because it ain't good when you got a litter of 8 and 2 and 2 make it, but how many out of the other ones was actually hunted? I never had a chance to make something. But when if I start breeding Halo, it's going to be a whole lot different. Definitely the pups will go into hands of hunters, and it ain't about the money. It's about really finding out if your dog's a reproducer or not.
Yeah. Well, and I got this female. She just needs maybe one win or two wins to be a night champion. I have to look it up now, and I'm it's kind of different. I've always hunted male dogs, and I've never been a stud dog guy, which I've never had a male dog win a whole bunch of big stuff either. But never really cared about that. I just whenever it come time I think I needed a puppy to replace, I try to find somebody that had a female that let me breed to it so I could get a puppy for myself. And then, now the tables has turned. I've got this little female and I really like her. And I'm kind of in one of them positions where, I'd like to, she's still young and I'd like to breed her just to see kind of, what kind of puppy she's gonna reproduce. But at the same time, I just want to hunt her. I
Right.
just want to take her out and hunt her and not have to worry about that. But I don't want her to get too much age on her before I start breeding her and see what she crosses good on, see what kind of puppy she throws.
Right. That's the same thing I'm a thinking too. I want to get some pups on the ground out of this dog, hopefully this year. Uh, and I've, like I said, I've got plenty of people willing to help me hunt these. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be in no hurry. But I think you can wait too late to see if a dog is a reproducer. So I think you need to make the right decisions. I think you get a few litters of pups on the ground while they're young, and you'll find out if you want to get them collected or uh, different things down the road. Because, like I said, in this breed, there's very few. Well, there's a lot of dogs, like I said, and some of them's reproducers and some of them's not. And the ones that's reproducers, you need to hold on to them as long as you can before they slip away, because it doesn't take long for one to be, like I said, like Moose. He's 10 years old. I've let a few of my friends take him and hunt him, and over the past few years while I was hunting other dogs. And it's sad when you got a 10-year-old dog sitting out there in the kennel every time you load up a young dog, and he's locating in the kennel wanting to go hunting. But you're like, well, I done know what you can do, and I've got to get this young dog right. But it's unfair, and I'm the type of guy that I love hunting young dogs. So that's what I take pleasure in. It seems like after I get them finished out, I'm ready for the next project.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of guys like that, and I've kind of went through phases where I like to mess with puppies and kind of get a handle on them and kind of get them going, and then I'd kind of be done with them, and then I went through a phase where I just wanted to get young dogs and kind of get them going and kind of get them not finished but well on their way, and then I'd be done with them, I'm kind of in that phase now, like with Angel, my little female I got. She needs a few little things kind of tweaked to be what I would consider a complete finished dog owner. And I'm kind of to that point where that's kind of what I want to do. I just kind of want to fix those few things and just kind of hunt my dog. And I don't know if everybody's that way. It kind of comes and goes in phases, because I mean I have opportunities to get all kind of different puppies, but I think I sit there and think, yeah, boy, that'd be nice to have that pup, and then I stop and I think about how much work it truly takes to take that pup from a pup to a dog that'll run and tree a coon, and do I've got the commitment inside myself to do it, and do I got the time to do it?
Right. And it takes so much money and time, and you can never be repaid for, if you really do justice with that dog, you'll never be able to sell that dog for what you've got in it, and the time and the work. And you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and that's I see on Facebook, hey, my my kid wants to get in the coon hunting, and then you see 200 comments on there. I got a pup here that I give, all this kind of stuff, and I've made comments on there before. Just if that's you, save your money and go find somebody that's got a dog that's either close to finished or preferably even finished, that maybe they've retired.
Yes.
That kid will learn more from that hunting that dog that will already run and tree a coon than he ever will from hunting a pup. And then when he gets past that stage, he could get a pup and start training it.
Yes, that's as good of advice that you could give anyone. Because I think the young, I've got this friend, he was talking the other day about wanting to get him a pup. I'm like, brother, I said, best thing you do, get you a 2 or 3 year old dog, something someone's already got the, the kinks worked out of it, because you're going to be, you're going to be a year and a half away from ever getting to enjoy that dog. And if you don't put the time into it to make it what it needs to be, and you might put all that time into it and it still not make the kind of dog you want, well, then you're right back going buying another young dog. Then you're another 2.5 years. You've done got 5 or 6 years of nothing but pups, and you still don't have nothing.
And,
And
that's the whole truth right there.
yep,
You get that pup, and in your mind you're thinking, well, if I do this and I do that, it's going to turn out exactly like I want it to be. And then you go from 8 weeks old to a year and a half, and you're like, man, this dog ain't nowhere near where I want it to be. And so now you're ready to scrap that whole idea, and now you've collected another pup somewhere. So now you're trying to get that pup. Now you're another year and a half, 2 years down the road, and like you said, you're 3 or 4 years in, and you ain't even nowhere near where you would want to be. And the other thing that I've learned is, used to, my goal was, I'd like to have a dog that I could go to a couple of local hunts, and I like to win. I'm competitive, and I'd like to win a few, but I don't have to win them all. And I'd like to go tree a coon, on the weekends or in the evenings or something like that. And then, but as time has went by, my goals have even changed. Of, like with this female, I've got high expectations for her to, run her in some PKC stuff and run her in some pro sport stuff if I can get a few things tweaked on her. And my expectations have changed from just having that dog that'll tree a coon and win a few local hunts to have a dog that will tree a coon, win most, if not all, the local hunts, plus go out and win some bigger hunts.
well, I'm right where you're at right now. I feel the same way. I think age and time uh, changes a man. And what my goal is now is to better the breed, and run some hunts, win some hunts. If my dog is capable, and but that's my main goal, is to enjoy my dogs, enjoy the hunting. Every trip to the woods needs to be like your last. Enjoy every moment, because it's time is slipping by very quickly. And I mean, a man's got to. We work all the time, and when it comes time to go to the woods and take a hound, it just brings me peace and comfort. I love it. I enjoy every moment of it. My friend, he's Jack Earls. Some of the videos he's been in with me, he's 86 years old, getting ready to turn 87, and he just rides along with me every night I go, and just loves to listen to that dog bark. He said, and he loves watching that Garmin too. And he said, I can't go to the woods, but he said, I love listening to that dog bark.
Well,
And
I hunt by myself a bunch. I would say 98 or 99% of the time I'm hunting right by myself. But I went through that same thing where the first black and tan that I bought from an older gentleman, and he had got to the point where it was really rough on him to go to the woods. And I used to go pick him up, and he'd sit on the tailgate, and we'd cut the dogs loose, and that's what he'd say. He'd say, I can't go to the tree, but you're young, you can go to it. I sure love to sit here and listen to these dogs.
and that brings, well, this is what I tell him. I'll say, Jack, I hope and pray that someday, if the Lord allows me to live as long as you've made it here, I said, that someone will take their time out to take me along with them, so I can just listen to them. Because that's what it's all about. Just keep passing this on down to the next generation and the next generation. But it's up to us to do that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we have to. Aaron made a good point here a while back. These breed associations, the leopards, the blue ticks, the English, black and tans, walkers, whatever. Aaron's a blue tick guy, and he said, I don't need the Blue Tick Association to promote blue ticks to me. I'm going to hunt a blue tick no matter what. Jason Keene don't need the Leopard Association to promote leopard hounds to Jason Keene. He,
Right.
we need these breed associations, and us as hunters have got to come up with ways to promote our individual breeds to other hunters and people that are not hunters to draw them in. What's going to make somebody that hasn't hunt buy a leopard dog or buy an English dog or buy a blue tick over buying a walker if the only reason they're getting into it is to win competition hunts? It's just like you said, breed for better dogs to better the breed, and you got to put the time in and put them in the woods
Right.
to produce
And
winners.
to produce winners. You're exactly right. And I'm just in English, and I'll say this: I've hunted with several good leopard dogs, and I have competed with with my leopards with some really good hounds, and I have stood toe to toe with them. I've won my fair share, and I've lost. I've made it to the final four to a lot of hunts, and they're capable of doing it. It's just the man behind it getting them there. You got to put in the time, and yes, there's going to be some calls, but you got to put the time into it. You just can't say, well, it's junk. You got to give it a fair chance, but when they like that. I heard you talking about one of them young English dogs you had was a later started dog. Is this the one you're hunting now,
No,
or was it?
no, I actually still got her up there. She's definitely gonna be way later than what I want her to be, but also I've hunted that same line of dogs when I was in high school, and so I kind of know when they start and when their switch really flips. There's not going to be very many of those that's out of that line of dogs because she's a semen pup. So there's not going to be very many of those out of that litter, that line of dogs that really was going to start treeing coons, at 7, 8, 9 months old. So I kind of knew what my expectations was getting into it.
Right. Well, I'll give you an example right here. I was talking to my buddy Andrew Bray the other day, and he's got a young dog. I think he's like 17 or 18 months old, and he had been opening up on track. And the guy that raised these pups, he called him and asked him what it was doing. And he said, well, every one of the litter's doing the same thing. Well, 2 weeks went by. He called him back. He said, has he started treeing? He said, believe it or not, he blew the top out of it last night. He's a treeing every breath. He said, well, every pup in the litter started treeing that week, every one of them. I mean, and they was like 17, 18 months old. Now, some people don't have that kind of patience. They're thinking that these pups at 5, 6, well, I've heard people say 4 months old. I've never had a 4-month-old run a tree coon since I've been hunting. I've had some at 6 months and 7 months old, but could they go out and do it like an old dog? No, they couldn't. So I think we got our expectations and we got our goals set too high to let a dog. Each one's different. I mean, they might mature out. They might start treeing, winning hunts and everything at 10 months old or whatever. But I think we just got to have a made up mind. If it's a bloodline we like and we know what that dog's going to do, we just sit back and we got to have patience and let them start when they start. And we can be honest when people contact you. If you say, well, when did this dog start? Well, it was 17 months old when it started treeing, but it was going hunting. It was running tracks. It was never with another dog, but it didn't start treeing until it was 18 months old. If you be honest with that, that person done expects what you told them.
Well, and I can't remember which dog it was, and it may have been the Z dog, the one that Ike Rainey owns that
Yeah.
started really, really late. So I think somebody told me that dog was 16, 17, 18 months old for it really, really come on. And I think I've heard some of those other guys that have some of that wipeout stuff say it started a little bit later than some of this other stuff. And guys get in there. I mean, I know a guy right now. If that dog ain't doing it like a dog is, a 2 or 3 year old dog is supposed to do it when it's 12 months old, he's about done with it. And I told
Right.
him, I said, man, you probably getting rid of some really good dogs if you just be patient and work through it. But people don't want to put the time in. They don't want to wait. And that's the whole thing. You got to be patient, like you said, and you got to be willing to put the time in and put the boot leather in to do it. And like my situation, this pup, I started taking her with Creeper when she was probably 4 or 5 months old. And when I first took her, she wouldn't leave my feet, and she'd walk into the tree with me. And I don't know, about 2 weeks into it, I walk into a tree that Creeper's treed on, and she strikes a track in the bottom and starts running it. And so, immediately I'm thinking, oh, well, this is going to be phenomenal. She's going to start right away. Well, she'll run a track all the way to a tree and put her feet on the tree. And if you can go in there and catch what tree she's putting her feet on, she'll have a coon. But she will not bark up right now. And so instead of getting frustrated, because there's other things I like about the dog. The dog is super smart. I mean, she's obedient, trained. I spent a lot of time with her. Like you said, I won't never get my money back out of this dog, and she won't even tree a coon.
Right.
And so there's some other things I like about her. Well, instead of getting frustrated with her and trying to send her down the road, I just put her in the pen. Just put her in the pen, hunt something else, take a break, and then go back to it. I mean, you just can't get frustrated and give up just because you see what people is putting on Facebook, because what they're putting on Facebook is probably the oddity, not the norm.
Right. And I've noticed that, and it's just like natural treeing, natural tree dogs. I want a natural tree dog without me having to entice that dog to tree, because and I would rather one run track before it ever trees. This Halo dog that I'm hunting, they can be a dog over there blowing the top out of a tree, and if he's working a track, if that track doesn't go to that tree that he's working, he will not. He will not go honor that dog. He won't just go over and tree to be treeing. He's got to work the track to the tree, and I love that, because he's very accurate, and in that situation, so I could get mad at him. Why are you not treeing that coon? But I know, leave him alone. Let him tree that coon, and that's the reason I've been hunting him by himself quite a bit, is because he needs that one-on-one time to be able to have nothing to distract him and get in there and work him tracks, because there's a lot of lonely, boring nights, and when you're out there with a young dog. But the best thing to do is just keep them in the woods, because if you can keep them in the woods and keep them where they are coons, something that they can run and tree. It doesn't matter if they'll go 2 miles, but if they ain't something there for them to run a tree, what good you got? Nothing.
Yeah, and that's my buddy in Alabama, Nick Williams. He says he wants a track dog that a tree, not a tree dog that a track. And this little English female that I got that ain't treeing yet. One of the last times I took her, Creeper just slammed a coon right out of the truck, and I got a little feist here, a little brindle feist, and she kind of goes in there and yaps on the tree. And she's a heck of a kill dog. She's just fun to have.
Right.
And that pup goes right by that tree, makes a ground bark, and never slowed down. And it's running its own track down there. Well, most people, like you said, they might get aggravated at that. Why, this dog's treed with a coon. Why don't you stay there and tree? Well, you know what? If that dog gets young, if it wants to go on down there and run a track, and hey, maybe it'll work it out, maybe it don't. But that's one of the things I like, because I know when that switch flips up and she starts treeing, because she's so track minded. I truly believe this. If that ever happens, she's going to be really, really accurate when she gets treed.
Right. I agree 100%, and just let her be naturally, and you can watch her develop, and then you can sit back and you can say, hey, it was on this day that she started treeing, looking up, but she would do everything else. So Like you said, you don't want to get you're not going to get frustrated with her, but something inside of you says you're about to go crazy. I've been there. I know what it's all about, but you got to still have that patience. You got to have them patience. The wait and see what that dog's going to do. And there've been times with me full of young dogs. I said, well, this ain't going to make it. And what I do, I get rid of it. And then somebody else, well, one of them actually right now, she's a dual grand. There's just something about her I didn't like. And I sent her to my buddy, and he put the time into her. He granted her out. I mean, she made an outstanding dog, but I did not have the patience. I didn't think she was going to start quick enough for me, but there again, she still turned out to be a real nice dog, and she's reproduced some real nice dogs. So there again, it's patience at the end of it. You just gotta keep hauling them to the woods.
That's the thing. I had a young male dog here, big old pretty blue English male dog. I mean, he's a monster to be as young as he was, and it wasn't nothing with the dog. Nothing was wrong with the dog. There was something about the dog's personality that I didn't really like and didn't really care for, and so I ended up selling him to a boy down in Louisiana when he's about, I don't know, 5 or 6 months old. It wasn't about a month and a half, 2 months later. Now my female I got here in the pen is a lot older than than that. He's sending me videos of this dog treeing coons by himself. Big old mouth, big old pretty dog, and I didn't get mad about it. I had to be honest with myself. They was just something about that dog's personality and my personality that we just didn't get along. I don't have the coons that boy's got either, so I can't expose a dog to that kind of coon scent either. And this little female I got up here, there's just something about her that I like. I mean, I, one of my favorite things ain't got nothing to do with hunting, but when I go feed dogs, I take my grandkids up there with me a lot. And when I open up those dog kennels, I don't want the dog running out. I want the dog to
Right.
sit right there at that door, and I don't care if I walk off and leave it open or whatever. I want it to stay right there, because I've got a 3-year-old grand girl, and she'll go with me to feed them dogs, and she loves to go with me up there and feed the dogs, and she wants to pet every one of them, and them dogs will just sit there and let her pet. That young female I got up there, she'll sit there and just sit on her butt and just wag her tail, and she don't never move. She don't jump on her. She don't knock her down. I mean, that's one of the things I just absolutely love about her. Her personality. It ain't got nothing to do with hunting. And you know what? A lot of people would probably say, well, that ain't worth the flip. I'd get rid of it. Well, you don't have to feed it. I'm feeding it, and so I like it.
That's right. That's right. And I can't stand one when you go up there. It looks like you've took and put concrete all over the floor either. I can't stand that. That drives me insane. Smeared on the chain link, and that kind of dog does not work for me. Uh, and if it takes that kind of dog to win all over the world, well, I won't be there. and,
No, I get it.
and
I'm the same way.
I mean, and knocking your water bucket over every day, and I mean, well, they live in the kennel, 75 to 80% of the time, you know, and so we got to deal with them at the house and barking and nonsense. These dogs that I've got, they're real quiet. They don't bark excessively. A lot of them, they just sleep in a dog box, and you have to go up there and just say, "Hey, come here." And you don't know to come and get their food, but now old Moose, he's a little different. Every time I'm getting ready to feed, he starts locating. Yeah, yeah. He starts throwing them old locates. I'm like, boy, I said, you still got it, don't you? But that's the way he is. But all in all, with these dogs, you got to enjoy them, and I love them, and I think I've had a great experience with these, and yeah, they've been some uphills and downhills. I've got frustrated. I guess that was the biggest problem. I got aggravated with with the association and different things, and I just decided to go a whole different direction. But I sort of was like the prodigal son. I found my way back home, and I'm going to stick with them. from here on out, because I mean, I've got too much invested. After you put 10 years in something, you just need to keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
And
No, I 100% get that. And, it's, I, I, I don't know. I hunted a lot of English dogs when I was in high school, and I guess that's the reason why I'm partial to them. I still, even though I don't even have one right now, and I ain't had one in 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe now, 4 years, something like that. I still consider myself a black and tan guy, and I follow the breed pretty closely. I know what's winning, and I know what dog is hot, and I keep saying to myself, I'm going to get a black and tan pup. I've got a place here where I can let one run free and just kind of let it run till it starts treeing something, and then I can put it up and really start working it. But at the same time, there again, whenever I think about I'm going to do that, I think about how much work's involved, how much time's involved in doing stuff such as that, and so that makes me just wait. Because if I get one, I want to be able to give it 100%. I don't want to half tail do it. I want to be able to give it 100% and try to make something out of it.
yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And finding the right line, the right bloodlines to fool with. I've had a lot of people contact me about different lines of dogs. I'm like, I've hunted with this dog and I've hunted with that dog, and I can say, I'll tell them what they were, and in my opinion, it's my opinion. But you know, still, you don't know how them dogs are going to reproduce. Plain and simple. When you make a cross, it's I've had people say, well, which one's going to make the best one? The ones that's hunted the hardest. That's the that's the best words I can put on a pup. And probably which lines of English dogs that's reproducing the best and that's doing good. Some dogs are just 100% reproducers, but it takes bloodlines and years of breeding to establish that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. I mean, whatever pup gets the best opportunity is going to make the best dog. I mean, there's no question about that. So whatever pup gets put in the right hands is going to get the time put in it. That's the dog that's going to turn out 100% of the time. Yeah, sure, you'll have those freaks from time to time that somebody put on the back burner and then you get, but whoever got them after the fact, I guarantee you they're putting some time and effort in them to make dogs.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It takes time. I mean, you're like we said, it's a day in day out thing. Back a few years ago, I was hunting 7 nights a week, and and you can really see a big difference in a dog when you're really putting that time into it. Now I average 5 to 6 nights a week when the weather's permitting. We just had a flood, and uh, water got up in our church like 2.5 foot, and we lost. I mean, it was just awful. And but we've had snow, brutal cold, zero temperatures. I mean, this is just I've not seen a winter like this in years. I mean, I think I was back in high school last time I seen a winter like this, and it's been a long time, and you're just not prepared for this. And you get these highs, and you got this young dog sitting up there in the kennel. You're just dying to take to the woods, but you're like, you're not benefiting anything, just taking him out there in miserable conditions. But as you get older, you'll learn. This older gentleman, he's passed away. His name was Doug Dye. He told me, he said, one good night coon hunting with a young dog is better than 10 bad nights. And I has just continuously went over in my mind that good night. If you look at the weather forecast and it's going to be a good night, go out there and put that dog in the best night that you can put it in the woods, and that's all you can hope for.
That's it. And I done a podcast. I don't know. It's been probably several months ago now. And I titled it "Don't Frustrate Yourself and Don't Frustrate Your Dog." And that right there is the number one thing especially when we're talking about young dogs. I mean, you get that dog one night of coon hunting and a good night of coon hunting with a young dog and really getting it some good exposure and some learning things is worth 10 times more than even 5 bad trips to the woods. I mean, you just really need to try to give, especially a young dog, every opportunity it can. I had a young Walker dog here I picked up from a guy, and he said he wouldn't go hunting. And when I first got him, he wouldn't. And so I just kept taking him, and I was patient with him. Smart dog, good looking dog. And all of a sudden one night he just goes and he trees a coon. But I wasn't hunting him every night. I was waiting, making sure the weather was good, and trying to look on my um, wildlife tracker thing, that they have where it shows the highs and lows of when the wildlife moves, and trying to give him every opportunity to put him in coons, in tracks. Yeah, I didn't have him a month, and that dog, you could cut him loose and he'd go hunt and tree a coon. But it just took time. It took picking out those right nights to take him, and knowing, okay, he's coming on, but don't push this dog and frustrate the dog by taking him on a bad night. Just you got to know, you got to be mature enough to go, okay, he's still young. I can't overdo it right here with him. I got to make sure I'm still giving him the same opportunities until he matures a little more.
Yes, and you're 100% right. I listened to that podcast. That was a good podcast, and you can't preach that enough. And a lot of people don't know that, because when, like, social media and different podcasts, people talk about, all these dogs that's winning and different things. Well, that wasn't an overnight situation. That took time. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, it took work to get that dog where it's at to win. And, we as houndsmen, we got to, when someone's having a difficult time, you reach out to them, like you said, and just give them some encouragement with that young dog, and let them know that just don't lose heart. Just keep on taking it night after night, and eventually it's going to just take right off. And but if that young dog does not take off, or get with good breeders and different people that's got good lines of dogs that's going to be 100% honest with you, that's just not out here to make a buck. I can't believe the price of some of these dogs that's going this day and time. It just blows my mind. But it's awesome if you can afford it, and some of them's heroes, and a lot more of them zeros.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of mixed on the whole dog price thing, because if you raise a litter of puppies right, and you super stakes them, and you get all the registration stuff done with them, I mean, and a guy would get one of those puppies and actually put the time in, put the effort in, have the patience, and give that dog all the good opportunities, they could go in a weekend and win 10 times what it costs to buy that pup. And then I know a lady that raises miniature schnauzers, and she's getting like $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 for a dog that can't do nothing but lay in the house and look at you. I mean, at least these dogs can do something. And so I kind of have mixed feelings on it, because I'm like you. I'm like, sometimes I think about it and I think, man, these pup prices are getting up there. But at the same time, you can take this dog and do something with it, as opposed to it laying on the couch and you just petting it on the head.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's if you got confidence in that bloodlines, and if they stand by them, but I agree 100% with you on that. I mean, it does cost a lot of money to raise pups, and to get them to where they need to be, it does take time to raise them, and the expense of the papers and everything. To do it right, it's an expensive step, and but then again, most of the time when somebody's paying a high price for a pup like that, they ain't just going to leave it sitting out in the kennel.
That's right, for sure. They're going to do they're going to do something with it.
Yeah, they're going to do something with it, and that's I think the dog world has got more light shown onto it, because I've showed a lot of people I go to church with, like some of these $100,000 hunts and stuff, and I showed them. They're like, I can't believe that these dogs can win this much money. I'm like, hey, it's just amazing what you can do with them this day and time.
Yeah, and you know, people that don't run in our circles, and when I say our circles, I'm not talking me and you, I'm talking coon hunting and competition coon
Yeah.
hunting. They have no idea, because I talk to people at my church too, just like you have, and they're like, well, why are you doing this? What if you win a world hunt? What does it pay? And when you tell them it's, you know, 30 or 40,000, or you can, you know, go this weekend and hunt for a pickup truck, and then a month from now you can go hunt for another brand new pickup truck, or, you know, like they just had the Michael Moody. $100,000 hunt in Mississippi. Guy wins $100,000 on a dog that he actually, I heard him on Josh McCallis' podcast, said at one time before, prior to that, had him on the Pro Hound message for him for sale. And the dog turns around and wins $100,000. And it just blows people's mind that there's that kind of money, you know, in these dogs. But these guys that are doing it, they're putting the work in. They're not, I think, as you said in our other podcast, they're not sitting at home on Facebook and watching Gunsmoke.
Yeah, exactly right. They're out there grinding the grindstone. They're putting it all in because they got to go, and they know they got something that they can do it with. When you know, like I said, when you know you got the right tool, you're gonna hunt come hell or high water. You know, you sacrifice everything and go. It don't matter if you had to work all day. You say, I've got to cut this dog loose tonight and keep it. It's an addiction is what it is. I mean, you get so wound up and caught up in it but at the end, you reap your rewards, you know.
Yeah.
That's usually who's going to win.
Yeah. And you look at, you know, Dual Murphy, Dustin Weed, Michael Ward, you know, the list goes on. The Burdens, you know, all
Yeah.
these guys, and you see them hunting this one dog, and then all of a sudden they've got another dog. Well, you know what? That dog didn't just appear. Either them or they had somebody putting some time in boot leather in that other dog that's a new name on the block. It just didn't appear overnight. Just poof, there it is, and there's that big winning dog. They've actually put the time in to get that dog to that point.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well, I mean, and there's multiple ones out there because you know they just keep appearing. You know, they just keep showing up, and that's there again. It goes back to that team of people pushing them dogs to get them there, and so they can reap the rewards. I mean, one man can't do it by himself; it's impossible.
Yeah, yeah. You'd have to have a lot of money and a lot of time. That's for sure to be able to do it by yourself.
Oh yeah, you have to. Well, it's like me, you know, to get to any good hunting. Like I said before on the other podcast, I mean, I've got to drive an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes to get into enjoyable hunting. And you know, it's hard to do that 5 nights a week. But if you're getting a dog right for, you know, getting a dog ready for the hunts, you're gonna go to the better places you can.
You just can't look at what they're doing and get caught up in the moment on Facebook and seeing what hunts they're winning and thinking that they're not out there putting the time in to get those dogs ready to be able to compete at that level because they're putting the time in.
That's right. You know, and these guys, they're traveling to hunt different places. They're going to different states. They're putting their dogs in all kinds of different situations, and that's what you got to do. You just got to continuously move around. Like you're going to a big hunting area, you just got to go to that area and sacrifice weekends and prior to go hunt and have your dog conditions. And I've seen that's like some of the dogs that I've hunted. You know, they were the same dog. It didn't matter where you hunted them. They just operated perfectly. And some dogs you got to take and get them prepared and get them ready. But you know, them dogs are few and far between. That's just naturals like that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, well, we've been at this for an hour and 15 minutes. I can't believe it's been that long already. And I know you got something else you wanted to share, but as far as on the dogs, did you have anything else you wanted to share or talk about before we get to the other part?
Well, my goal is right now is just trying to make better leopards. And like I said, I want to thank Andrew Bray, Steve Thomas, Michael Instings, and I've got some other guys that's been real special to me. That's really helped me, and you know, we're moving forward. And I think the future is looking brighter for the Leopard breed. And like I said, I've got several people on the list for some pups, and I believe they're all going in the right hands, And but time will tell in another year or so. Maybe we'll be doing this thing again and talking about the next future of the Leopard breed.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, and I try to keep up with you on Facebook and kind of see where you're at, and I noticed that Holstein color moved out, and here these Merle colored dogs moved back in, and I thought, well, Jason must be on to something over there on the East Coast, and I guess I need to reach out to him and let's do a catch up session and see what's happening. And I'm glad I did. I've definitely enjoyed this, and I know there was something else you wanted to share that was on your heart, so you just have your liberty, whatever it is you want to share there.
All right. Well, Jason, these hounds that we have here to enjoy, they're a pleasure, and pleasure can turn to pain and stress, can turn to anger and sleepless nights. But the best solution is to find our wholeness in God, who can put more joy in our hearts than anyone or anything else. God is far beyond any wealth or any experience we could ever imagine. The greatest thing is to know the Lord Jesus Christ as our Savior. The Bible says, let us lay aside every weight and every sin which so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. If we can learn to trust in Him, our Lord and Savior, there's nothing impossible. Today I read over in Job chapter 22, verse 8, it says at the end of the verse, and so a light will shine your way. If anyone listening to this podcast today doesn't know Jesus Christ, He is the only way. Jesus died for each and every one of us. If you don't know the Lord as your personal Savior, there's no greater time than this. You can say, well, I've done too much wrong. How can He ever love me? Or how can He ever accept me? My thought goes back to the thief that was on the cross. He looked at Jesus. He said, will you remember me? And Jesus said, today you'll be in paradise with me for eternal life. The Bible says in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. There's no greater time than right now to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I can't make it one day without Him. And I've failed Him many a times, but He's always been there to pick me back up. I felt like the prodigal son and return back home. There've been so many times in my life that I felt like all hope was lost. But the very thing that I needed was to get right back home, like that prodigal. And today, if you want to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, all you got to do is just ask Him to come in. He is there waiting, and He's knocking on that door. And if you need to message me or message Jason, I know if there's multiple people starts contacting us. I've got several friends. My brother-in-law's our pastor. If you need to get with someone and talk to them about the Lord, we're willing. My door's always open, and I'm sure Jason's is too, because there's nothing any better than seeing each and every one of you in heaven with us. We might not get to meet you here on earth, but someday I hope we can meet each and every one in heaven, because the time is the harvest is ripe. It's harvest time, and I would love to see each and every one of our fellow coon hunters ask Christ into their heart.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said any of that more better myself, and I don't want to take away from it, so we'll shut it down right there. And Jason, I really appreciate you sharing that with us and sharing your heart with us. And that is out of everything we do, out of getting puppies, out of training dogs, out of going to hunts, if you don't do anything else, ask the Lord to come into your heart. And if you are a Christian, share it with someone else, just like Jason has today. Jason, I appreciate you being on here today, and we'll get together and do this again. I always have a good time talking to you, and we always get caught up talking about something with these dogs, and I love to hear you share about the Lord. So I really appreciate it. We'll get together and do this again.
Jason, I sure appreciate it, buddy, and thank you so much.
Yes, sir. You have a good evening, and we'll talk at you later.
All right, thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the Coonhound Collective podcast today. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you don't mind, head over to Facebook and give us a like, and head over to Instagram and give us a follow. It's both at the Coonhound Collective. Also, if you would like to reach us here at the Coonhound Collective, you can reach us at thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. If there's someone that you would like to hear on the podcast or a product that you would like to hear talked about, please send it to thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.